Before we begin, there's a few things that you should be aware of. If you're doing a SIMnet project that is auto-graded, always use the SIMnet project instructions and the start file in the SIMnet project area. That's what you see on the screen right here. It's really important that you get your instructions right from there. Secondly, if you're doing a project that is not auto-graded, such as pause and practice, we highly encourage that you use the instructions in the sim book rather than the printed book if you have it, because the sim book project instructions are always up to date. And then lastly, there are slight differences between Office 365 and 2019. The book and project instructions are written in Office 365, and where differences exist, they'll be noted in the project instructions or in the sim book. Okay, let's begin. Step one says to open up the start file. That's what you see right here. And if you need to enable the editing, if it's in protected mode, simply double click the enable editing button and it will allow you to edit this. That's step one. Step two simply says to rename the file if you need to. Sometimes your instructor tells you to rename it, and this is the time to do it. So that completes step two. Step three, it says change your username and initials. And once again, I always say this on the videos, I tend to go slowly on the videos. I apologize if it's too slow for some people, but I need to go at a slow enough pace so people can learn what's going on. If you need to jump to a farther spot down the video, that's completely fine. In the description of the video, you'll see a time card. It'll actually tell you when each step begins. So if you have to see a particular step, you can just jump to that location on the video. So in 3A, it says click on the tracking launcher. That's the review tab. And I need to be right over here. And it says open up the tracking options dialog box. And it says change username right there. It tells you to put your name in. And then make sure the initials are lowercase, and here it is. But when I did this, when I practiced with this, it was uppercase. So I had to make that lowercase. And then I need to make sure this is checked right here. Always use these values regardless of the sign into Office. You may have to make sure that's checked, but make sure that's checked. Then we simply click OK. And OK, and that completes step three. Step four, it says click the display for review drop-down list. So review tab, once again, we'll spend a little bit of time here. We're over here in the tracking group. And we need to select all markup. So if it's not on all markup right here, make sure it's on all markup now. And then we need to click the reviewing pane drop down. We need to make that vertical. And you'll see all this information on the left. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Next, 4C, it says we need to click on. It says Hazmat Kumar, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but Hazmat Kumar. We need to click anywhere in here. And then it's asking us to right click. It's going to give us the option to reject deletion, and that's what we're going to do. And now it's back in there. And there's a little figure there in the instructions if you have it, so you can see that. And then lastly, it simply says to close this area. And that completes step four. Moving along nicely. Step five, it says to accept changes in the document. Place your insertion point at the top of the document. One thing that you can do here is, for me, it's already at the top, but I can hit Control and Home and it'll go to the top of the document, but it's already at the top of the document for me, which is great. And then it says click the next button. Be sure you're clicking the correct next button. There's a couple of them up here, and we need to be in the proper one. This is the changes area. I'm going to click next. Then we need to click on the top half of the accept button. Once again, I go nice and slowly. I have to read these instructions and make sure I get it right, just like you. That's why sometimes the video, it's just a little bit more slowly than you might like. Top half of the accept button. And then you can see what happens there on the screen. Moves to the next change. And then it says, click on the top half of the accept button again to accept the next change. And delete CCD there, and it does. Next, it says click on the bottom half of the accept button and accept all changes. I'm going to make sure I get the right one. There's several choices and they all look very similar. I've made this mistake in the past where I've clicked the wrong one. Okay. All the remaining changes are accepted there. And that completes step 5. Step 6, we're going to reply to a comment, resolve a comment, and delete a comment. So 6A, it says place your insertion point at the top of the document. I will do that. A little bit hard for you to see right here. Maybe I'll make that a little bit bigger, but you're going to need to see the left-hand side as well. Okay, I'm just moving this around so it's easier for the video people to see this. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to click the next button. This is in the comments area. Once again, there's a couple nexts up here, and it's very common just to see the one on the right and click it, but we want to click the one in the comments area. And it moves down to that. And I need to move this over just a little bit so you can see this. Then it says, click the reply button in the markup area. And it wants me to type done, exclamation point. And I do so, then it tells me to click the resolve button, which is right next to it. You can see how it's grayed out. Then we're going to click the next button again. And before I go any further, I should probably say, you probably see these little symbols right here. These are the show hide buttons. I often leave them on, but you could just as easily turn them off if you like. We're going to use them several times. They're non-printing characters, but they tell you a few things, like where you hit enter, when you hit tab. So I'm going to leave them on. But if they bother you, you can turn them off, but just know you may have to be using them down the road. It tells you, it helps you find where you are. Okay, back to the steps. It says click the next button again, and I did that. It says click on the top half of the delete button. To delete the comment. Next it says click display for review dropdown. And I always need to just go nice and slowly up here. It says no markup. So none of the markups are visible. And that completes step 6. Step 7, add document properties. If you've never done this before, this is what a lot of businesses do and professional documents. They add document properties and then you can automatically add them into various places and it makes it easier to search and file. So we're going to click over on the File tab. Need to make sure we're on the Information button. And we need to show all properties down here. And this might be just a little bit hard to see, but it's pretty intuitive. It says add the following document properties. In the title area, we need to type in exactly what it says. Online learning plan. Make sure you get the capitalization and the spelling correct. This program is very particular. That's probably a good thing, but it is particular. Next, in company, we need to type in the company. And this will actually save us the problem of typing it in down the road. You'll see on one of the last steps what I mean. Manager. Okay, I want to make sure I have his name spelled correctly. go back and just triple check here. Sounds good. I'm just going to click anywhere to lock it in place. And then the very last step is just basically get back out to the main editing page by clicking the back button. And that completes step 7. Step 8, we're going to apply styles to the document. And we need to go to the first page of the document. So I'm just going to head up to the top here. And I'm going to select Online Learning Plan. And as I look at the instructions, apply the title slide. Need to be on the Home tab. You know what? I'm going to turn off these non-printing characters. I'll do that right now. The Show Hide button turns that on. Once again, they don't print, obviously. They're just there for you, the editor. Okay, so with the title up here selected, I need to select the title slide, the subtitle, apply the subtitle slide. By the way, you can click the More button right here if you need to see more options, but I can see it right there. It's fine. Then apply heading 1 style to all the main headings, everything in cap and bold. Now I could do this. I could highlight that, this first one right there. Heading 1, heading 2, or I could use the format painter to do that. But in this case, I'll do it the manual way for this. I'll show you how to use the painting button in a minute for the next thing we're going to do. Just quick double check. Okay, that all gets the heading 1s. It says apply the heading 2 style to all the subheadings that are underlined. So I know I'm going to find that down. Here we go, towards the bottom of the first page. I highlight that. I'm going to click heading 2. Now, since I know I'm going to do this several times, I'm going to double click the format painter. This is the other way. This can be quicker, especially if you have a lot of things to do. It puts a little paintbrush next to the insertion point. If you double click it, it leaves it on. I'm going to highlight all of the underlined titles, and that'll paint that format there. But you could do it the other way. Just select each one individually. Leave that up to you. That looks good. And the very last thing, if you use the format painter to get out of the format paint mode, you either click that button again, or escape is the magic button that'll get you back out. And that completes that step, which is step 8. Step 9, I'm going to place or insert a table of contents into the report. And this is really valuable. You don't want to be manually putting in a table of contents and pressing the period button down a whole bunch of times like some people do and like I used to do when I was a very beginner at Word. You want to use the table of contents feature. So we're going to head up and we're going to put the insertion point before the first main heading. And we're going to hold Control and Enter to put in a page break. And I'm going to turn back on these non-printing characters, clicking the Show Hide button. The reason why is because you can now see that there's a page break in there. This won't print, but this is just you for the editor to see this. I can turn it back on and off, but this really allows me to know what's going on. Anything above that will stay on the first page. Below that will go down to the next page. Important to know. Okay, it says go to the new first page of the document and place the insertion point directly after the subtitle and press Enter. And you can see now there's space there. Click on the Table of Contents button. It's in the References tab. There's a drop down. There's several choices here. One of them is Automatic Table 2. You put that in there, and it automatically pre-populates a table of contents. And the great thing about this is when and if you make changes down the road, you add pages, delete them, it'll automatically change the page numbers. That's a dynamite feature. You should really get to know that if you're not familiar. Great. Next one, we need to select the words table of contents. Nice and simple here. We need to change select it and make it automatic. I'm going to head back over here to the Home tab. The fonts group right there. The colors says automatic. I'm going to make that automatic. And then lastly, it says if there's a blank space that accidentally got pushed between here and here, get rid of it. In our case, that didn't happen, but that's what the instructions are saying. You can get rid of that. And then you can turn on and off the show hide button as needed. I'm going to turn them off right now. We may need them again, but I'm going to turn them off. And that completes step 9. Step 10. It says insert footnotes into the document. So I'm going to go to the second page of the document. After Web Enhanced Course, and that's down towards the bottom. And before the dash, you need to click Insert Footnote. That's in the References tab. And be sure you don't click Insert EndNote. That's different. Insert Footnote. Now it's down towards the bottom. And I need to type in that information. Be sure you spell it correctly. Okay, and then position. We're on step 10D. I know towards the top of the second page, there's an OL in parentheses. I put it directly right after the parentheses. I need to put in another insert footnote there. Click insert footnote, and actually it's on top because it's higher up on the page. And I need to type in exactly what it says. It tells me to do online learning. Make sure you get the capitalization right. Online learning is referred to as OL Great. And that should complete step 10. Step 11, modify footnote number format. We're going to head over to the Footnotes launcher. And there are several choices here. One of them says number format. If you select the drop-down list, one of them says I, comma, II, and then comma, III. Just going to make sure that that's right in the instructions. Here it is. Click apply, and you probably can't see it on video, but it actually changed down here. Nice and easy. That completes step 11. Step 12, insert and modify content in the footer. So what we need to do is place the insertion point at the beginning of the document. Control and home will get me up there, but you can certainly just scroll if that makes you happy. Click the footer button, insert tab, header and footer group over here. And I need to, little drop down there, and one of the choices is edit footer. And then now you can see that it opens up a new set of design tools there. And I have to go nice and slowly to make sure I get this right. We need to click the document info button. And this can be sometimes a little bit easy to miss. So make sure it says header and footer, document info. Select document title. And that automatically pre-populates that in there. That's great. Now pay attention here. I need to hit the right arrow to deselect this before I hit the tab button. Now it moves it over to the center. Need to hit the document info button again. You may have to drill down just a little bit deeper. Click document property, hover over it, and then one of the choices is company. That looks good to me. I want to make sure the spelling is correct. You could always go back into that document properties button and change the spelling, and it'll change it here, but it looks good. So I'm going to hit the right arrow to deselect that. Then once again, hit the tab button. That'll push it over to the right preset tab stop. And then we need to click the page number. So we need to be in the Insert tab, header and footer group, page number, current position. That makes a lot of sense because we want to keep it in that position. I hover over that, and there's a whole bunch of choices. One of them is bold. You have to just scroll down there. It's about halfway down. It says bold numbers. Okay, that's all looking pretty good. One of the last steps here, it says select all the text in the footer and change that to 10 points. A couple different ways you could do this, but I'm going to go back to the Home tab and change it there. One quick note, and I know you want to move on to the next step. If you are in the main body of the document and you hit Control-A to select everything, it would not necessarily affect the header and the footer. You have to modify the header and or the footer independently. So that's really important to know. A select all on the footer isn't going to select the entire document, just the stuff in the footer. Sometimes people don't realize that. And then lastly, I'm going to go back up here again, just follow along. You should still see the header and footer group up there. If you do, hopefully you do, if you click close header and footer, that should close that. And then that should complete step 12. Step 13 says insert a page break. Only a few steps here. This is nice and easy. We need to find exactly where this is. It says before the last subheading, how are courses and programs selected. It's on page 2 towards the bottom, probably the same for you, I'd hope so. And hit Control and Enter. And I accidentally, my finger slipped and I hit delete, so I hit the back button. I need to hit Control and Enter. That's what happens when I'm doing 3 things at once. And you know it's there. If you hit the Show Hide button, you can see a page break was put right there. And that completes Step 13. Step 14 says insert a cover page and modify content control fields. So we're going to place the insertion point at the top of the document. Control and Home will get me to the very top. Click on cover page. I know that's in the Insert tab. I know that because I do this all of the time. In the Pages area, it says Cover Page. There's a drop down, and there's a whole bunch of choices. One of them is Retrospect. Take a minute, find it, select it, and that'll apply it to this particular document. That completes 14C. 14D, it says click the subtitle. You know it's subtitle because it says document subtitle. And then this is very important. Pay attention here. If you just hit delete, it may not actually delete the whole thing, and SIMnet may mark this off for you. If I click that little word up here, it says subtitle, as well as having this selected and then hit delete, it'll delete the entire thing. We're going to do that one more time with another one. You can always go back on the video and watch that. Click the author content control field handle. And then I'm also going to click author right there. Click inside and then I click author. If I click delete, that will delete it. And confirm that the insertion point is on the blank line where the author field just was. It is. It says next, click on quick parts. So insert tab, text group. Insert tab, text group. It's over here. Quick parts, there's a drop down. Need to hover over document property, select manager. That's going to put Hazmat Kumar. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly, but it's going to put the manager's name there. Next, 14H, apply the bold formatting to the company document field. It's the company document field, bold right there. This little quick access box come up, but I could always go over to the home tab and select bold from there as well if that didn't show up. Next, it says type the following in the company address. Pay attention here. Notice how it's going to come in all caps, by the way. We're going to fix that. Don't fix it now. Quick double check to make sure I'm doing it the way the instructions say. Okay. Next says select this web address. We need to deselect the all caps button. A couple different ways to find it. You might be able to find it over here. Let me show you on the home tab here. In the fonts area, the launcher button, one of the choices is all caps. If I deselect that, watch what happens. It makes that smaller, lowercase, and that looks pretty good. So that completes step 14. Step 15, update the table of contents. We're almost there, folks. So I need to click the table of contents, and I need to find it, of course. I'm just going to click up here somewhere in the title. That works out nice and good for me. A couple different ways you can do this. You may see update table right here. The instructions say go up to the reference tab, table of contents group, update table. You're going to see the same menu whether you click it here or you find it up there. It says update entire table. And this is a good feature to know when you make changes. You want to update the entire table. This is how you do it. I'm going to click OK. Make sure there are no other instructions. That completes step 15. And then lastly, steps 16, 17, and 18 says to save and close the document, upload and save your project file, and submit it for grading. Best of luck, everybody.